It's interesting. You just reminded me that prior to the tearing my ACL again, skiing
Hmm.
was I at the end of this 3.5 year grind at a startup. I took some time off and I wanted to play hockey again. And I went to a boutique gym
Yep.
and had a personal trainer the first time I had it. And I told him what I was trying to do, which was to play in this tournament at Lake Placid. And I actually was unable to complete the tournament because I strained my hip flexor again. I actually, and I did. I was pretty angry because it was a big commitment, and I realized that now that there wasn't really an intense focus on building up my hip flexor strain. So it was a disappointing first experience with a personal trainer, which made me sort of on the verge of hostile when it came to working with other trainers, as you can attest to.
Yeah, yeah, and I think unfortunately a lot of people do experience that with trainers, especially if they're not as experienced as they like to be. I think trainers can sometimes be a option B or C for some people. If if maybe finance didn't work out, or um, marketing or whatever didn't work out, they can always become a personal trainer. So it's never their first choice. But there's a lot of good trainers out there, but
Mhm.
unfortunately early on you just happen to get one of the ones who maybe just didn't, you know,
Yes, representing the industry at large. It's um, um, I don't know. I think you're different, doing it at home because the you can ask these questions later on, but that I went through a year plus with another personal trainer at a what might be called an elite gym,
right.
and I got the sense that it was I had a time slot. I did what I had to do, but it wasn't the kind of relationship I have with you where you're, you know,
Well, let's get into that right now. So we had the
okay.
ACL injury, we had the hip flexor kind of strain early on, but then you progressed and you said you started working with these trainers. And we don't have to mention any names, but just describe kind of your experience with that, that we've talked about before, and hopefully maybe learn something from that.
Okay, well, with the boutique gym, it was more like I didn't know what I didn't know. It was the beginning of the journey. You talked in the beginning about journey, and there may have been exercises that were unknown to me, and there wasn't really any kind of education, and I wasn't really digging in to try to figure out what was happening, and I didn't take that kind of drill down and adapt it to my personal life because parallel to all of this was I ran 3 marathons as a back of the packet in Boston in the early 90s, and to me like running became more of a kind of go-to thing. So
What made
I
you
w-
originally go into that boutique gym? Like, what kind of hooked you to go there in the first place?
I just I knew somebody who was and it was like around at that time there were very few, and this was the one to
And
go
what year
to.
is this again? I'm sorry.
2003, 2002,
2000. Okay.
2003, 2002. And yeah, no, I went there, but now it's been I've been so devoted to learning this stuff. It's because you gave me a roadmap, and there was never any of that roadmap. So I didn't know what she was doing, what her goals were, and what the long-term strategy was. I was working towards a particular. So that's one instance. Another instance. At Equinox, I worked out there as a kind of and did the machines. And then I went off of the machines and started to do more of the functional stuff. But the trainer there, it seemed like in retrospect, um, he knew that I wasn't going to be a long termer. So it was a little bit of a kind of ego related training that happened then.
Yeah. So, what did you see with the trainers there at, we'll say Equinox, or even at the other boutique gym? Was it was it the approach from the trainer? Did you just have a bad trainer experience? Was it lack of
I think that
communication,
there's
lack
a
of goals? Like what?
no. Well, I think I think it at that time the trainers didn't know how to do it, whatever it is, and I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to engage a trainer, and the trainer perhaps didn't know how to engage someone like me, which was like, the guy trying to come back and play a sport later on in his life. He looked at it as more like, 2 weeks. This guy's going to last for 6 weeks, and it wasn't really and it was expensive too. And so I think the general theory is that I was going to wash out, and so I really focused on having him show me stuff, and I learned that stuff, and then that stuff became the repetitive exercise,
Hmm.
and then later on, I think it was the reason why I had a rotator cuff tear was that I didn't make the adaptations, and I was constantly, working up. I didn't have the sense of, working to a certain level and, um, uh, focusing on recovery, all the stuff that we know now.
Right. And it may be a point just to point out, one, it may be of value to other trainers to realize that one, when your clients walk in the door, they don't know what to expect. And if they don't know what to expect and they just expect you, their bare minimum, they just expect you to know things. And it may be better for trainers to know early on that, hey, like we need to set the expectation of what trainers can provide, and then also kind of a direction where where you should be going and where you hope to bring your client. Being a therapist, it might be a little bit different as well as a trainer, but I think that it'd be good that trainers understand that having a goal in mind that both you and your client share, so that way you can continue forward together, may be better early on to know, so that way you guys can work together towards a common goal versus just you guys having two separate ideas of like what you both want. As like the trainer may use some old training method that they thought they worked on somebody else, versus you thinking that, okay, well, like I want to get fit, but like I need to change every now and again too.
Yeah, I think it's good.